This is the last video series that I will create for our inventory business intelligence solution. In the last video, I spoke about the 6 steps that you could take to help improve your availability rate while reducing your inventory. And in this video, I'm going to focus on the number 5 item, this idea of adapting a dynamic ordering system that allows you, because really, if you don't adapt a dynamic system, eventually you'll end up where you were on the spectrum of having excess inventory or not having enough availability. So what is a dynamic ordering system when it comes to accessories? You know, if you're a wireless multi-retailer, your challenge largely is from accessories. It is not from devices. Accessories are the biggest challenge, and they are challenging for a lot of reasons, but really mainly these are the challenges that I see facing our wireless retailers, and in particular when it comes to accessory forecasting. So there's no link between the point of sale system that you're using, RQ, between the devices and the accessories. So there is no report that you can pull in RQ that could tell you that you have 5 cases for device, for a specific device, or you have 7 tempered glasses for that device. So that makes it incredibly difficult to allow you to forecast properly or to tie your devices with accessories. That's the biggest challenge, the first one. And then there's also multiple SKUs that come from different vendors for the same item. What I mean by that is that you can have a device, and let's say that you want to get a tempered glass from vendor A. And then that vendor A runs out of the tempered glass, and then you are looking for a different vendor, and then you end up ordering that tempered glass for the same device, but it's a different SKU. And if you're forecasting on a SKU level, you may end up overstocking because your system thinks that you need that specific SKU, but it doesn't know that you actually have it. It's just under a different SKU. And that's another challenge when it comes to forecasting for accessories. And third, you don't really know the coloring. There is no categorization. There is no inventory tree that allows you to categorize your colors of specific cases. When you need to order 10 cases, what color should you order? How do you know how many colors do you have in stock? And then lastly, the idea of too much manual labor. You're having to go into your point of sale system, RQ, and you want to select a specific period. You're trying to figure out, okay, what should I select? What sales period should I select? And you're exporting to Excel, you're trying to modify, look at your sales history, and it's a very cumbersome process. So these list of challenges have left a lot of operators really facing a big dilemma. And what do you continue ordering and adapting this labor system, or create a solution that's worse than the problem? And so what many retailers do, they either do it themselves or have their purchasing team do it, and then end up having a lot of excess quantities or not enough availability, right? Or they allow their sales team, they create a solution that's worse than a problem by allowing your sales team to order inventory for you, specifically ordering accessories. And the process that I have seen is that the store manager has access to the vendor portal. They fill out their cart, and there is a spot checking by the back office team that says, you know what, yeah, I am approving this or I'm not approving this. It is incredibly difficult to spot check multiple locations. And if you're truly spot checking them, it would take you more time to spot check than it would actually to make the order yourself. So that's the biggest issue. The other issue, there's no segregation of duties because when you're really truly not able to spot check these orders because it takes so much time, there is no segregation of duties. In other words, the sales team has no incentive not to overstock because they're measured on how much sales that they're going to get. So by nature, they're going to over order. You know, if the store only needs 5 items, they're going to order 20 because they're not going to risk running out. And so they're always going to overestimate than underestimate because there is really no risk for them not to have that many. So having no segregation of duties is a big sin that one really fundamental violation of management principles. You want to make sure that you're creating competing departments and creating a natural tension between them. So your purchasing team should be measured on how much inventory and how much working capital is tied towards your inventory, and your sales team is measured on how much sales they're making. And that natural tension constantly keeps the balance and keeps the checks and balances in there. So that's, we're not having a checks and balances, allowing your sales team to order accessories for yourself and then spot check them. It's kind of like having your bookkeeper or accountant or the person who's checking on your deposits actually taking the deposit to the bank. They're gonna pocket that and then they're gonna check it off as has been deposited, and there's no way for you to know that. So you gotta have, and that actually happened to me, but you gotta make sure that you have segregation of duties. And then third, the recency and delayed biases. So what if we're humans, the sales teams are humans, and so we're subject to recency and delayed biases. If I sell 5 items, 5 cases of a specific device yesterday, and I'm ordering today, I might think, yeah, I'm selling a lot of it, and so I'm going to get 20 or 30. Or if my sales pattern was, last week or 10 days ago, I may think, oh, I'm not really selling them, and that creates a lot of issues with the forecasting process. And then lastly, there's just a high variability among stores. When you're looking at, if you have 30 stores and you got 30 different people ordering, there is so much variability in that process, and it lacks discipline, and it is against all the principles that lean management and really operating on Lean Six Sigma stands for. So what do you do? And this is arguably the most challenging task that I have had to take on as I was looking at solutions to help improve, because there was a constant struggle between the sales team and the purchasing team or inventory team. They're not, the sales team doesn't have what they want, and the purchasing team is unable to figure out a way to do it. So we came up with a solution that we call a dynamic ordering system. And a dynamic ordering system in the wireless business, if it comes to accessories, should allow you to have user-defined parameters. And what I mean by user-defined parameters is that the user, the purchasing manager, should be able to say, you know what, I'm going to have this X amount of days on hand of inventory for this specific category of inventory, whether it's accessories or devices, or I want to have, for my top selling items, I want to have 30 days worth of inventory versus only 10 days worth of inventory on my lowest, slowest moving items. So, and that allows the purchasing manager to decide what they want to order. And they can actually select, and they should allow them to select what period they want to base their forecast on, and then be able to modify that period by increasing or decreasing the forecast as they see fit. There's human elements of the purchasing manager or the inventory or the business operator. You know your business better than anybody. You need a tool that kind of allows you to scale up or down your forecast based on the inputs that you create. And the second part is, this dynamic ordering system should be pragmatic in its approach and allows for trial and error. So because the user puts their parameters and they make the input, and the sales team is still complaining about the availability of specific items, your purchasing team could go on and then create and adjust these entries as they see fit over time to help them calibrate really the best days on hand and the best entries. And then third, a dynamic system should link devices and accessories. You should be able to know at any given time how many cases you have for a specific device, and it should allow you to know what kind of colors do you have. And fourth, we should be looking at 2 methods of ordering, and they should adapt 2 different methods, and we look at the higher of the 2 methods. So one of the methods that you use is the most obvious one, is like historical sales. You're looking at your historical data and you're putting your parameters, and then you're creating a forecast based on that. The other one is a tier device method, which is based on predefined tiers that you put for every device. And then you say to it, if you give a device a tier 1, it means that for every device that you have on hand, you want to have 1 case and you want to have 1 tempered glass. If you give a device a tier 2, that means for every device you have, you want to have 2 cases and 2 tempered glasses, and so on and so forth. So this tier device method allows you to catch patterns that you could not catch with your historical sales, because if there is a new device launch, and there's always, 99% of the time, your lead time on devices is much faster than it is on accessories. And so you're going to have your devices faster than you get your accessories. And so you might have 10 devices on hand in a specific location, a new launch that you just ordered, but there is no historical sales of accessories for that device. So a tier device method is kind of your foolproof mechanism to make sure that you have accessories for that device if the historical sales in your forecast fails. And then you should be able to select the higher of the two. So this is how we process it. And last thing, even with these 2 methods, if you have a historical sales forecast and then a tier device method, you're still not going to be able to capture all of the customers' needs. Your sales team, the people that are on the field, they know best. And so sometimes a customer will come and ask them for something that your historical sales forecast couldn't catch and your tier device couldn't catch. So your system should be able to capture the feedback from the sales team, but in a way that the purchasing manager isn't have to toggle between different screens, and they're able to see that all in then one screen. That's what a dynamic ordering system should be doing. And in this video, I will be covering what do I mean by these 5 different features of having a dynamic ordering system. All right, so this is the kind of user interface of a dynamic order system that we have. And it looks a bit scary because our purchasing managers, they decided that they want to see so much in one view, and we gave them that option here. When I said the first thing, the idea of user-defined parameters. So a user-defined parameters allows the purchasing manager to come here and say, you know what, how many days on hand do I want to have for my top selling items, which are defined by class A, and how many days on hand do I want for my class B, and the same on for class C. And if you don't know what class A, B, C, what that is, please go watch the video that I created, the 6-step process to reducing inventory while improving availability, right? I explain extensively what those are. So assuming that you do, then we like at CP for our own stores, we like to have 30 days on hand of class A items, and then 21 days of class B items, and 15 days only of class C items. And then you want to be able to make sure that you are defining that for devices, because remember, we have a method that we call tier device method, and you want to make sure that you're putting that number and how many devices on hand do you want to have so that the system could calculate that for you as well. And then you want to be able to say, you know what is my forecast? Say that today is, September 1st, and the first 7 days of the month are going to be busy, or the first 2 weeks of September, you're forecasting them to be busier. But you don't know, you want to make sure that you're capturing a sales period or a time that will most resemble your expected sales period in the future. So in this case, I think that the last, August is going to resemble my sales for the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks the most. It's the most recent period. It is also similar promotional items. And then the same thing with devices. I think because I'm ordering, devices are a bit more aggressive. And so you might want to say, you know what, I'm going to do just the first 2 weeks of August, because those are going to resemble my first 2 weeks of September. And this is really a matter of taste. The idea of a dynamic system allows you to do whatever you want and define these parameters for your business. And as you change these items, and there is also a forecast factor, which allows you to say, okay, so I think the first 2 weeks of September are going to be a lot busier than the first, than the average selling period for August. And then you say, you know what, by how much do you think that they're going to be more sales? You expect it to be higher by 25%? Is it higher by 50%? Whatever you want to do. Like, let's say that you think that it's going to be up September, it's going to be up by 25%. And so you create that, and then the system calculates everything for you dynamically here. And so you're able to see really, so based on my entries for this particular location, I selected this location based on my entries. These are kind of like the summaries, the summary items, and you can actually take a look at them. I'm going to expand it here to kind of go over what that looks like. So for this specific device, it's asking for 7 cases. And you could see that when I mentioned about two methods, this is the higher of the two. This is the tiered method device. Based on the tier method device, it wants to have 5 cases. But based on the historical sales data and based on this class, it says bring in 7 for this particular case. But the final order is always going to be the higher of the two, which is 7. Now, the tricky part is you want to figure out, okay, what color do you bring? And well, really, like, it's bring in 7, and it says here you have 14 of them in stock. So how do you know what colors do you bring? And that's why we created an interest of category level that allows you to come here and then kind of really expand further to give you even more drill down to allow you to say, yeah, I'm going to have, I have, this is the breakdown. And then it says accessory in stock. Well, it has 6 female colors. It has a holster type, and then it has a 6 unisex cases, and then a wallet type case. And here it tells you what has been the accessory attach rate on these specific coloring in the period that you selected. And here it tells you where you should give your focus. Because in this particular example, the unisex had the highest attach rate. And so you're going to want to make sure that 85% of your 7 cases should be coming for this particular segment. And if you want to drill down, you'll actually know that it wants you to bring in 28%, a third of your 7 should be black color, and then about 17% of that should be 2. We left that to really at these percentages so that the purchasing manager could make these decisions and allows them to make sure that they're getting the stuff that the sales team needs. So that's the beauty of this system, allowing you to do that. And what I really like about this view and our purchasing manager wanted is we wanted them to be able to see, do I have to order this item from my vendor, or do I have an excess item somewhere else based on these entries that I could grab that case from and that order from, instead of just ordering from my vendor and charging myself more if it's sitting somewhere else in one of my stores. And then the purchasing manager could decide. They'll have a matrix of the mileage, and they'll calculate if it's better to grab it from another location, or is it better to get it from. So in this particular example, and this is our warehouse, and it says that we have excess items for 21, and it's suggesting that, go grab it from there. So that is the beauty of having this kind of view. Now, some people that I talked to said, you know what, I don't really want to go one location by one location and then figure out going device by device. I want to just take it to Excel and then just send it all to my my vendor. We don't recommend that, but if you really so choose, you'll just actually export that to Excel and then bring in that table to Excel, and then you'll see all of the details. And then obviously it can be broken down by location. With a click of a button, you will have prepared all of your orders. So in this particular example, this is the export that I made, and it's the summary of the order that you could send. And then here we go. And this is the breakdown. And what I really like here, if you notice here, the beauty of this system is this is a device with Galaxy A03. It's asking to bring in 12 cases and then 4 tempered glasses. Why would it do that? Why is it 12 cases and 4 tempered glass? Well, if you look at this, the case is a Class A item. It means that in this particular location, the case on this device is a top selling item, whereas the tempered glass is not as top selling. And that's really the beauty of having a system that is just very designed specific to the location, to the case need, to the tempered glass need. It knows exactly what is going on and what your top sellers are. So, and that's how you're able to reduce your inventory level, by making sure that you're only bringing the items that your store needs, and it classifies them based on your historical data. But if you want to, now the only drawback here is that you are not going to be able to have the luxury of looking at the breakdown of the colors, which can be created in a separate view. But if you want to, this could be with a click of a button done for all of your stores, just like that, and it allows you to put. And then one of the things that I mentioned was this idea of bridging the gap with the sales team, because your order tier method and then your order forecast isn't going to capture everything. And our purchasing manager wanted to have a view right here that allows them to see what the sales team has requested. We have a different request portal that the sales team are going into, and they're putting the date and selecting. In this particular date in August, this location did not request anything in particular. So I'm going to try to select a different location that I know will have made that kind of request in this particular period. And let's say that we're buying for doing accessories. I'm going to select accessories, and you could see that this location has requested these items. And chances are, if it's really all like typical stuff like your case and your car charger and cases and nothing more specific, your chances are your system is going to capture that. 95% of the time, the model captures the request of the sales team. But there are some times where they request things that the model doesn't capture, and that's the beauty of being able to have that view, is that you get to bridge in the idea of historical sales with tiered device methods and get the input of your field team. And that's the beauty of a dynamic ordering system. And the other thing that I was mentioning is this idea of having a pragmatic approach through trial and error. Here, I like to really, if you remember when I shared in the previous video, I shared this kind of chart, and it's the relationship between the inventory that you have on hand and the sort of availability for your inventory. And I said the idea is to bend this curve right here and to sort of move it to the other side. And this was in theory, and in practice, what we have done is like we plotted all of these data points. Here, this is a plot for accessories, and this is a plot for devices. And I get to look at my inventory on hand of accessories, and then just see my availability rate on accessories. And then I could see, you know what, in this particular location, in July of 2022, I had 2,800 worth of accessories and 94% availability rate. And then I could see here that I improved my availability rate by increasing my inventory on hand. Is it worth it to go from 3,600 of inventory from increasing by almost $1,000 to improve it by 2%? Or you just keep it at that? Whatever it is, that's the beauty of having this kind of system, and you're always plotting. You have to really decide as a business or as a purchasing manager, where is your threshold? Where do you want that to be? And then if you really want to look at your specific classes, you could look at your class A, and here you'll see that this particular location, all class A items, as you should expect, that they're all at 100% availability rate. So the beauty of you look at this right here, this particular point, $2,000 worth of inventory with 100% availability rate. And that's really what you would like to see. Whereas in this particular example, you got $5,000 worth of inventory with the same availability rate. So having this ability to plot to your points is what I meant by having it's a pragmatic solution that gives you trial. Theory is nice. Books are really nice, but I am a pragmatic person, and I want practical information that allows me to plot my points. And the more time that goes on, the more data that I have. You could see that this is not a linear relationship by any stretch of the imagination. And that's what you should expect, because we were not really actively pursuing this chart and bending the curve. We just started that in the last 6 months, and so these are data points for the last 2 years, and that's why you don't see a linear relationship. But I'm always interested in how can I go up to the left on a 95% availability rate, and by lowering the amount of inventory that I have. These are the points that I'm interested in. This is really the quadrant that you want to be, the upper left quadrant. So that's what a pragmatic system allowing you to do that. This idea of having the approach where you are doing trial and error. And this is why, the team, the purchasing team who's putting these entries right here, they can come in here and say, you know what, I'm still getting these peaks and valleys of stock out levels and availability rates for the last 3 months. Let me just increase this number right here from 30 days to, I don't know, let's do 45 days, because I don't want to have to keep ordering. And obviously, as you change these numbers, you're going to see that this forecast is changing. You're going to see that this forecast changing based on that number. Now, if you were to put this information in Excel and have a defined parameter in Excel, it would crash, because there is just so much data big data needs a powerful business intelligence tool, allowing you to really to make these kinds of these kind of user parameter entries. And then we have here an access item view that allows you to see, you know what, based on these parameters that I have created, how much excess inventory do I have in this specific location, or how much excess inventory that I have in a particular in the company. And this allows you to see that here, based on these parameters, that how much excess inventory this specific location has. 265 out of 341, which is more than 50% of the inventory. And that allows you to just really constantly see what you're dealing with, and so you can actually increase or decrease. You could do that. And then we did the same thing for device ordering. You're able to create, with the devices, you're able to create the same thing. We segment and classify our devices the same way that we do with accessories. And so you could select here and then do your forecast factor as you see fit. And then we have an alert table on both accessories and devices, because in this specific case, our purchasing team is constantly coming here, and what they're doing is that they're looking at they're creating an alert. And so this is equivalent to like a minimum maximum system, but is much more efficient and dynamic. So they could create, I have my lead time on accessories is 7 days, and anything that falls below 7 days, I want to know what shortages will I have. And so they put 7 days, and these are the shortages that they're going to have. If they don't react, they're going to have 3 items that are short. They're going to come up short on that. So they better do something quickly about it, or change course. And this is a view that allows them, and you can change that to say, you know what, you want to have 14 days of alert days. You don't want it to go below 14 days. And it gives them, this is a company list for all of the locations where you need to focus your attention. This is from highest to lowest, so that, if your time is limited, you want to react very quickly, you react to where it's shortages the most. As a general rule of thumb, your alert days or your buffer quantity should be equivalent to your lead time. Our lead time on accessories is 7. We like ground shipping. We don't want to pay for 2-day shipping or overnight. It's enough expenses, other places on your P&L. You don't want to be paying more. So that's why we like to forecast and build everything around our lead time. And the same thing really with devices. We have the same thing, and devices have lower lead time. You create 5, and then you could really do that. And then another cool thing that the purchasing team has an ability to look at a specific device and then take a look at the attach rate for the case and the tempered glass, and then be able to say, you know what, this location is attaching or this location is not attaching. So you'll be able to know specific devices. And if they want to know a trend over time for that specific location, they're able to come here and then click on that specific device and see how this location is behaving over time. Are they improving their attach rate? Are they not improving their attach rate? And it really allows them just a dynamic ability to have and look at things. And then lastly, before last, this is a missing SKU tab. If the database, if there were new SKUs or a new vendor that we created a purchase order from, and these SKUs were not mapped into the database, this missing SKU will always pop up with those SKUs, because your database needs to hold everything. So this is kind of like a last line of defense to make sure that we're not forgetting about any SKUs. And this is this is how you're able to design a structure that really allows you to capture everything. And then lastly, when we really look at, let's say that I want to look at a specific device and then see how that specific device, let's say that you want to know where is your accessories accessed the most with respect to your devices. And this is how we were able to do it. This line looks a bit scary, but basically you're able to come here and see that in this particular location, not sure if you could see it on the screen, this location has 21 items in stock and only 7 devices. Of those, there is 11 cases and then 10 tempered glasses. So whatever this gap or this line is wider, that means that there's a spread between the device and the accessories that they have on hand. And so we have it broken down by case and tempered glass. So this is very helpful view when your items become end of life. When devices go end of life, you want to start looking at this line, and you better normalize this line and flatten it 3 or 4 weeks, or even like a couple of weeks before the item goes end of life. And as a general rule of thumb, with things that go end of life, we define them and trigger the end of life into the model to stop bringing anything. And then we start flattening of this line to make sure that we don't end up with a lot of excess quantities. And we used to end up with a lot of excess, and using this system and then having this excess items view allows us the ability to transfer and move things around. So this is really it for the system, a dynamic inventory system, allowing you to bend the curve and allowing you to create different mechanisms to help you improve your availability rate and reduce your working capital. The next segment that I'm going to share with you will be about sales and how we were able to improve our APO up to $60 from $38, from $39, $20 in APO improvement over a 6-month period. We'll look forward to talking to you about our sales dashboard and all the things that come with that.